Hey guys, it's Clovis, and you have successfully attended your appointment. Oh my god, we need to talk about a subject that is extremely popular with Duelists of the Roses. I mean, how many times have you read a comment or even posted a comment or just seen the discussion of a Duelists of the Roses remake? Oh my god, it's gonna be the best game ever. Konami just needs to remake this game. Well, they really don't, but look, seriously, this is a topic that's so exhausting for me. I have to communicate with you guys that it's even more like meme-worthy than, the whole Ryoka and Mirror Force in broken English type thing. Because it's just completely bizarre to me how many people want this game to be remade, and I understand remakes and why people want their favorite game remade. And I mean, while we're at it, why don't we actually acknowledge the fact that some of the most popular games and movies especially are unoriginal ideas. They are basically tried, proven, tested ideas that are being remade, sequels, remakes, stuff like that. But there's a bit of a catch with this analogy, because the truth is, these are remakes of things that were already successful, whereas Duelists of the Roses kind of bombed. I don't know if you know this, but despite getting greatest hits, the PAL version never reached platinum. Now, of course, this has a lot to do with the fact that the PAL version is a steaming pile of dog shit. But my point is, if you want to remake something and have it be successful, well, first of all, people need to have liked it in the first place to wanted it enough to come back. And that's not to invalidate anyone's opinions who likes this game. I mean, after all, I like this game. But let's be realistic here. Duels of the Roses really isn't high on a list of priority to remake. And we will talk about this later, don't worry. But, oh man, it's a really good time to talk about remakes right now, isn't it? Anyways, so, in talking about why we don't want a Duelists of the Roses remake, let's actually first talk about why Konami doesn't want a Duelists of the Roses remake. When we talk about the fact that there won't be a Duelists of the Roses remake, it's not really up for anyone to say except perhaps Kazuki Takahashi himself. And realistically, it's been 20 years since the game was made, and there has been absolutely no sign and no hope of the game being remade apart from fan modding or remakes or whatever, or people maybe doing like tabletop simulator sort of stuff. Which, again, all this is fine, and I'm all for it. I'm glad that these are options, because it's pretty much all we're going to get, and it is a sign that people did like this game. The difference is, I don't really think Konami liked this game at all. If you actually consider all these spin-offs early on, what I'm pretty sure is going on, again, I'm not Kazuki Takahashi, but if you put yourself in the mind of Kazuki Takahashi, think of this right. You have a dream, you have an ambition. When you're getting off the ground with your anime and your cards and all this stuff, you are going to try new things and try to hook something. And this is even true today. If you think about a lot of popular YouTube channels, one classic example is actually Chubby Emu, who early on, he was making video game related content, and then he didn't really get off the ground until he found a niche that everyone loves his videos and knows him for. And this is true for Yu-Gi-Oh! So, what I think actually happened is actually all these weird Yu-Gi-Oh! Spin-off games, you know how they're not actually like Yu-Gi-Oh! At all, is because Kazuki Takahashi himself was still trying to figure out the game. Not just what he wants the game to be, but the fact is, the game needs to be something other people want to play. It needs to be a good game. It needs to appeal to other people, not just themselves, right? So, in this fact, all he's really done is just make a bunch of different games and see if they stuck or not, and Duels of the Roses clearly didn't stick well enough for it to really get off the ground past its own original game, which of course we can all agree is a tragedy, because all we are ever going to get in the realm of Duels of the Roses is the game itself, which isn't really optimized, to say the least. It's this is another one of those games that just kind of is fabled due to the development cycle, which we may not have a lot of information of, but we can tell the game's rushed. We've talked about this enough already, okay? So just forget about that. But the point of this, and talking about Kazuki Takahashi, is I'm pretty sure he's moved on at this point. In 20 years of not even talking about the game, I'm pretty sure he does not give a single fuck about Duelists of the Roses, no matter how much you like the game, no matter how much I make videos about it or talk about it to other people. This game is not going to be remade. And if it does, yeah, you can go ahead and say, you were wrong, Clovis, like, go ahead, like, but really, I don't want people to hold their breath for a remake on this game because it's just not gonna happen. If Konami were interested in remaking this game, they would have made a sequel by now. They would have had something to do about it by now. They would have put their old games up on the PlayStation Network. Something. There is just no signal whatsoever. I mean, the company, Konami, the money-hungry, greedy Konami making all its pachinko machines and shit. They're not even suing people for making mods and remakes on it. That's how little they care. Is that not a good point, or what? Maybe it's not, but don't sue me, Konami, okay? I only did Redux because I like you, okay? Alright, so just consider the landscape, right? We do have Duel Links now. They did acknowledge that people do kind of like the classic Yu-Gi-Oh! And a lot of people are on their phones, mobile gaming. So if you talk about the landscape now, you think about what sort of actually, literally think about being in an office. Think about it's your job to actually consult for Konami what their next move should be making. What games, what can we do to make money? Can we put a game out on mobile? Can we remake an old game? Or should we make a new game? I'm pretty sure none of the people even working for Konami even know about Duels of the Roses, let alone would they suggest, oh, we should make Duels of the Roses again, because people would like that, because the game's kind of niche and popular. That's just not good enough. The fact that there's one YouTube channel about the game is just not good enough, okay? I'm just some guy, I got lucky to get 7,000 subscribers, I'm being totally honest, I got so lucky. So thank you all of you quickly, just while I'm here, but the point is, yeah, there are a lot of people in the vacuum of Duels of the Roses videos that really want a remake, but the world collectively doesn't give a fuck about Duels of the Roses. Sorry to tell you, there's a lot of people, if you talk to someone who actually played Duels of the Roses back in the day and they stopped caring about it ages ago, they just know it as that wacky Yu-Gi-Oh! Game that they couldn't even get past the first level of. I remember my best friend rented the game out because he thought it was going to be like Forbidden Memories, and then he couldn't even get past Weevil, and then he had to return the game, and it's just it's not really anyone's fault but Konami that this game just bombed and no one was interested in it, because it literally took a dedicated YouTube channel to really show the appeal to different people about it. Not to give myself too much credit, but I mean, if I weren't making all these videos about this game, it's probably, I would have stopped caring about it. It would have less appeal to me if we didn't have people like GMS posting all this cool information about the game that I could make into videos and keep people interested in the buzz about the game. If, it's just, otherwise, what have you got to watch? These 10-year-old shitty videos? I'm not talking about Underlord Tico, by the way. I'm talking about other videos of just, people uploading with Hypercam, unregistered Hypercam 2, or, a video recording of their TV or something, with a webcam or some bullshit like that. I've seen a few of those videos, actually. Maybe I should put one on the screen here. Of, someone Toon summoned skull with reincarnation, and he called it Toon summoned skull. Ugh. Anyways. So we probably pretty much established the fact that they just don't care about Duels of the Roses, which is a pretty good argument as to why it's not going to get remade, because they just don't care, they're not interested in remaking it. But what if they did? Well, it's 2021 now, and things are not the same as they used to be. Remember, this game came out 20 years ago. I want you to think about when you were a kid in the year 2000s, and you thought 20 years ago, the 1980s, was so goddamn old. Just think about how much the landscape changes in that time, and it feels like it really accelerated because of the rise of the internet and all that, and well, it did. Now, instead of just buying a game and enjoying it, you don't get to do that anymore. Games are still released broken because they can just patch it later, so they might give us all a game that's as bad and as broken as Duels of the Roses is. I mean, you'd hope not, but truthfully, that's probably going to happen, and they may or may not fix it in the patches, depending on how much they care about the game after that. What else can be said is, would it even be a PlayStation game? Would it even be a full-fledged game, or would it be a mobile game? Because let me tell you, I have absolutely no fucking time for mobile games no matter what. I'm so sick of them, and I'm also sick of these ads. I want to boycott the own mobile game ads that show up on my channel. I mean, I'll accept a KFC ad, it just reminds you of a deal, you go buy KFC. If you don't want to buy KFC, you're not going to buy it anyway. But mobile game ads are so deceptive because they're all based on gambling. And, I mean, it's just all these influencers, they have their face in the corner of the screen here while the game is just showing all this hot anime chicks and all this. So can you imagine this with Yu-Gi-Oh? Imagine you have to pay, like, oh man, you buy Harpy Lady, and then you have to pay $5 for the original Japanese art so you can see her fucking cleavage. You know, all these people are going to be buying it. They could make so much money off of this, but they wouldn't do it because you could do this with anything. They could do this with, like, Genshin Impact or whatever the fuck else is going on. I don't know if you do that with Raid Shadow Legends. I mean, it's not really aesthetically pleasing, that game, so forget about it. Just forget I even mentioned Raid Shadow Legends. I swear to God, if anyone wants me to fucking sponsor their mobile game, I will actually do a video talking about how bad your game is. I will have a vendetta. I will look at every possible footage, every bad angle of the game and expose how bad it is, and I will be relentless. Absolutely relentless in how bad mobile gaming is. And this ties into the fact that I do not want a Duelists of the Roses mobile game, because all it would be is a free-to-play piece of shit that is just about microtransactions. And if you're telling me you really want a Duelists of the Roses remake, think about how much grief you've had from not being able to get Ryoku, right? Imagine if you had to pay money for Ryoku, right? Imagine if you had to pay money for Mirror Force. Imagine if you had to pay money for Cosmo Queen and all these cards you couldn't get. You could finally get all the cards you always wanted. And it would cost you like over $100. And then we talk about a point where if everyone actually bought Ryoku's, the game's pay to win, obviously, which is absolutely terrible. The only other solution is they nerf Ryoku and it's not even lucrative or interesting to buy anymore. And it would just be so bad, and I'm sorry, but I really am sorry. Don't take this personally, but most of the player base of this game doesn't really know the game that well. So when it comes to the multiplayer client, you're just going to get the shittest matches, honestly. Nothing's going to be fun. A lot of people are going to not know anything about the game until they suss out like an ELO system or whatever. And if you actually had microtransactions in the way of, you know, buying Ryoku and that sort of thing, it would be pay to win. And if the game didn't have microtransactions, be realistic, they just wouldn't bother making it. They would never make a game that wouldn't make them profit, whether it's Konami or, you know, any other company, even a company like Larian Studios that really loves its fans. Like, you know, Konami are not going to crowdfund or do like a GoFundMe or something to, you know, enable this. Like, they just don't care. They just do not care. So, consider that. Do you really want the game to be remade and just be full of microtransactions? Just be a shitty mobile game that's just microtransactions? Because at this point, you know, I mean, some of you are probably happy with this, but I'm not. I wouldn't be happy with that. I'd have absolutely no enthusiasm about a Duelists of the Roses remake unless it was like a full-fledged game. You knew you were going to get all the cards, it fixed every single problem, and this ties into my final point, which is your expectations are not reality. Konami do not care about what you like about the game, they only care about what they like and their agenda, and that's true with anything. And this is exactly why they advertise shit on the back of the case that isn't even true. They tell you there's more than 850 cards in the game you can't even accept. They tell you about the deck leader system even though you can't fucking rank up a monster a single fucking time or get a leader ability before you beat the game. You know, all this stupid shit. If you think this is bad, imagine if they just made Duelists of the Roses just to make money, which is the only reason to make it. This is exactly why the game is not going to be remade, because they're only going to remake it if it made them money, and they obviously don't think it will make them much money, because they have other things like Duel Links that'll just do that for them. So, truthfully, the game is not going to be remade. There are a lot of other topics of discussion, if I'm being honest. Again, if you think about, like, how do you even approach a remake of the game? Do you just only do classic Yu-Gi-Oh? I mean, that would make the most sense, but at the same time, you know, the amount of resources to do it, imagine actually just including all the cards that it had and Battle City on top of that and making all the monster models for these, all these updated HD monster models. Just imagine the amount of work that would take. Imagine the amount of time, resources, and not just, again, it's not just money. Like, it's not just about paying random people. It's that people would literally need to slave themselves over this. People would actually need, like, to be working full-time just making monster models for months and months and months and months and months. Everything else about the developer will probably be the same. I mean, it would just be a lot of people like slaving and stressing over, not slaving because they get paid, but you know what I mean? Just stressing over all this stuff that probably, towards the end of it, they think, fuck it, you know, just It's not worth a hassle. It's not worth wasting and destroying the morale of your own staff to work on something so useless as a fucking Duelists of the Roses remake that no one really actually cares about outside of the vacuum of a YouTube channel. It really, really is dire. So, the reason why I get so annoyed or shitty or I just want to look in any other direction when I see a comment about the Duelists of the Roses remake is because it's not gonna happen. It's just a waste of time to think about. Don't you have better things to do? This is literally like all the shit that I want to say about it, and I can't fit that in a small comment. Like, if I boil it down, the only way to really boil it down to a fine point is to just say, no, I don't want a Duelists of the Roses remake. And again, I talked about it being appropriate time, which we'll finish up on this, is... Holy crap. These fucking Grand Theft Auto remakes, I just can't believe it. Like, this is literally what happens when a company knows it can make money off of something that's already established to be good. It is a dangerous combination. This, I swear, like, it's funny I'm this upset and angry about it, because I actually don't give a fuck about the Grand Theft Auto games. I've only actually played Grand Theft Auto 4, by the way. This, like, San Andreas is the highest selling game on the highest selling console of all time in history, and this is what the fans got, was a steaming pile of shit. So what fucking hope does Duelists of the Roses have?